and that is Hydration Man over here. This is Corey
Yo,
BBoyTech Report.
what's going on, folks?
And
People.
this stream right here, I don't know if people see my stupid face. Yo, so this stream is literally we're just trying out some audio techniques for streaming so that we can share some content without having to shoot and edit full videos, and just kind of like if we feel the whim to like jam or show you something, we're hoping that we can use this platform in that way to just kind of show you guys some stuff. So
Yes.
um, I had Corey pull out a synthesizer that he really didn't want to play with today, but
Yeah, no, hate this thing.
so Corey's got his Matriarch out, which you just got that when?
Yesterday. This was last night. As a matter of fact, it was still boxed up, and I went to sleep because I was tired from traveling to NobCon. And I was like, well, I'll deal with that tomorrow. Then I went to sleep and couldn't sleep and woke up at 4 and came down and unboxed it.
There it is. There it is. So he's got the Matriarch out. I obviously have a HydraSynth out here. I got some other stuff behind me that I might mess with too. That big synth right there. I'm gonna like periodically play it, and I'll see if I can get people to guess what it is, because it's a synthesizer that I haven't really shown like that. So what I'll do is I'll try to get people to guess. Some nice low notes there. High note.
Yep, that sounds good.
What's that?
Damn, sounds good. Sounds
Yeah.
vintage, too.
It's a very nice sounding synthesizer.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting if I can get some people to guess what that might be. Give me 1 second. I'm gonna grab this thing right here. Hopefully it won't feedback. There we go. Okay, so I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna grab this link, throw it out here. Internet's crazy today.
You gotta get your neighbors off Pornhub.
Gotta get my son on. Yo, the thumbnail is hilarious. All right. So I'm gonna I'll share this into the HydraSynth. So we started a HydraSynth group. There's on Facebook. If you look up ASM HydraSynth, there is a new HydraSynth group that I just started. So if people want to join that, I'll add you in there, and yeah. So there's gonna be a lot of. I'm doing that so that I don't have to spam everybody out there about all the interesting HydraSynth stuff that I'm showing. So I'm doing it as a public service.
Yeah, it's dope.
All right, here we go. Let me do this
Underworld.
just like this.
I feel like I knew this, but just didn't remember. But I think it's really dope that some of the 219 wavetables that are in the HydraSynth are actually from the Prophet VS, and that's dope. And they're named after Chris Meyer, one of the architects of it. And how about somebody giving him crap about his demo of the Prophet VS as saying he was a jerk or didn't know what he was
Oh, that
doing.
was hilarious.
And,
That was
and he's the
hilarious.
guy. He's
He
one of the
called
architects
him
of
a
the Prophet
schmuck.
VS. Yeah, he's like, good work ruining this synth, schmuck. You did it a disservice. Come
Yeah,
on,
man.
bro.
That That was truly great. It was a true Leroy Jenkins moment. Dude just ran in there, didn't care about facts or anything else, and
Nothing.
just went at it. Nothing more YouTube than that
He
thread.
couldn't care less. He was like, "No, you are wrong, and you're the worst one." And he's like, "I invented this." Oh,
And the guy's like, Is your
yeah.
name Dave Smith?"
It's really-
Oh my god, that's
oh
one of the
man,
beautiful things about the music instrument industry is like there's a lot of unsung heroes that people don't tend to like. There's a few big names, but behind those big names, there's always some
there's
unsung
teams.
heroes.
Yeah, there's like unsung heroes. There's like teams of folks that are back there doing the things. And you know what? If you're in the synth industry, you know those names. But then people that claim to be all aficionado and like they know everything. It's like, come on, man. The synth industry is bigger than like four people.
Yeah, really. Well, the funny thing is it's bigger than like four people, but it's also smaller than like the world. You know what I mean? Like a
Yeah,
lot of people also don't realize just how small, the instrument creation community actually
yeah,
is.
it is. It's a small community.
So we got some people in here. Hello from Portugal. That's awesome. All right, so
Oh,
turn the matriarch up a little bit. I want to hear some of that and describe what you're doing.
so what I got going on right here is I got the ARP playing. So I recorded a sequence of chords, and I'm just playing it one note. I can hold it, so I'm holding just playing the sequence and messing with the. So that's it with no delay, just with the filter wide open, and the filter is in stereo, low pass. Then we'll add some delay. Little spacing. Ping pong. So I'm kind of messing with the timing, so it's smearing a little bit.
Now, is it normalized to play paraphonically, or like how is that set up?
So there's a switch on the output module that says paraphony. So you could do it one voice, two voices, or four. So there's a switch 1, 2, 4, and then you could do multi-trig. So yeah, it's all on a switch, and then you can set it to amp envelope VCA mode. So it has 3 VCA modes: drone, split, or amp envelope.
So let me ask you a quick question about those oscillators. Are those variable waveforms, or do they select between the waveforms?
Yeah, they select between their switches.
Okay. So
Yeah.
I got a nice thin sounding synth sound here, but then I can variable switch it. So.
Nice. Yeah, these switch.
Yo, if I catch this fly on the air, it's gonna be like I'm a celebrate. There's a fly in the studio, and I'm like, yo, if I catch it. All right, they want me to turn my mic up a bit. Hold on.
Okay, who's on there? Let's see.
Why anybody would want that? Okay. So I gave it a little bit more gain. I'm trying to be touchy with my gain on my mic because I'm using a new mic preamp, and it's kind of hard for me to gauge how well it rocks. So hopefully this sounds all right. Yeah.
This joint sounds good.
Oh, cool. That
Triangle.
does sound nice.
It's just one oscillator. Saw. Square.
I should try to like emulate your patch.
Yeah, go for it.
Alright, so you got a bit of delay going on there. Sounds like probably about 300 milliseconds, somewhere around there. So we'll do maybe a little longer, 350. Okay, some filter. You got some envelope on that filter?
Yep.
Just
a touch.
Yeah, so I'm thinking.
Just a little decay and sustain, not much release.
Okay.
Whose dog is that? I don't know. There was a dog? Hold on. The dog don't come to me anyway. Who's that? Kids. Yeah, I'll give it to you, kids. The Argon 8 does sound good.
Kid says Argon 8 nicer sounding than HydraSynth. I'll be very interested to hear that.
It sounds really good, man. I think there's gonna be people that are, it's gonna be like, yo, are you a Korg or Roland guy, that kind of thing. And there's gonna be some people that are gonna be clearly Hydra folks, or some folks are gonna be Argon 8 folks.
I'm gonna be both.
Yeah, I'll probably end up being
I'm
both
saying
too.
at that price point, I'm gonna be both. And
yeah,
I
$6.99.
don't see them as all that similar, to be honest with you. They both do 8 voices and they both have wavetables. That's about the only similarity. Like,
Yeah, they definitely
HydraSynth
sound different too. They're very
HydraSynth
different.
architecture is way more complex. Like, there's way more going on there.
Yeah.
The layout of the way the oscillators are on the Argon 8 is interesting, with the way that they're doing the stereo field versus the way that the stereo field's done on this, which this has some really crazy stereo field stuff too. It's just that the two are done in a very different way. So to me, it's going to be really interesting. I won't be getting into like Nintendo versus Sega about it. Like, I'll be like, I'll be down with both.
This dude said, Flux BBoyTech with it. Super group.
Well, hold on. You can't listen. I need to be very clear about this. So when the Flux with It name came about, I didn't make that name. That was actually I think it was Joe. I think it was St. Joe that came up with it.
Straight up.
Yeah, I think it was St. Joe. And we were talking about names, and basically I was wishy-washy about different names, and he was like, "You gotta have your own site, blah blah blah." And I was like, "Okay, but I don't have a name." It was him and Rod, and then they came up with Flux with It, and I was like, I will not spell slang. It's not happening. So I hate it when people say with it, because there's actually this really like I don't want to knock dude, but like this really crappy T-shirt company thing that I saw like years ago that was Flux with it, and
Yeah.
I hated it, and I was like, yo, I am definitely not that. Like,
Well, I will not spell slang. You can't make me.
I always feel like when people spell out slang, like you remember when who was Sonovox did Sampler,
Yeah.
and everybody thought it was like kind of like racist in a way.
Yeah.
But what we didn't know about it was that they were from Boston, and it was a Boston.
And it's a Boston accent.
It was a Boston accent, not them trying to play on like Ebonics.
That's crazy.
So everybody thought they were being really disrespectful when really they were kind of self-deprecating.
He said his sorry Ken, his humor is like nails on a chalkboard. No, his humor is like Dave Smith filters.
Oh my God.
That's
PTNA said PTNA said his own. Okay, I get it. You made it sound like my humor was nails on a chalkboard.
No, he
this
said
is my
his.
personality.
Well, yours is, but nobody's.
Yeah, right.
Crank that matrix brute. That is it even connected? I don't think it's connected, bro.
Hold on, I got
mean,
mine.
the audio is it?
I got mine right here.
You better be careful swinging that camera around like that.
Oh, I'm not gonna show everything. But here's the funny thing. When I do this, right? I want the stream to see this, right? When I do this, and watch, I'm gonna play at velocity real quick, real soft. You hear how like warm it is?
Yeah, that joint sounds good.
But here's the thing. It sounds big and analog, right?
What you got it going through?
Here's the thing. The secret is that what I'm playing right now is not the Matrix Brute.
Right, that's what I was
This
just
is
gonna say.
just
What'd you
MIDI
do to that?
controlling. This is MIDI controlling a different synthesizer right now that I have not shown. So people don't know what I'm playing with that right now.
Who can guess what that is he's playing?
Yeah, if you can guess what synthesizer
He'll
I'm
give you a
playing
shot of that
when I
baby
play,
blue.
and there's no outside effects on that synth. So the delay that you hear is part of that synth. If you can guess what that synthesizer is, I'll figure out some kind of prize, and I'll get you some kind of prize. It's not the Super 6. It's not the JDXA. The JDXA is not hooked up in my studio right now. Steel cheated. Steel got it.
I feel like that's unfair because Steel's in our chat.
Yeah, but he didn't know I had it.
He didn't
hooked
know
up,
you had
though.
it,
Like
yeah.
he didn't know that I was
He
playing
got
with
it.
the Delta. I don't think he did.
Ken wishes it was a Jupiter X.
Man, hopefully soon if I can convince Rob and them. You
Yeah.
never know. I'm gonna beg a lot.
I don't blame you.
All right, show me something fancy with that matriarch real quick.
All right, let's see. I had some patches going on. Hold on. Let's do this. Stop that.
While you're doing that, I'm gonna set a patch up without even listening to it on this, and then when you're done, I'll play it, and we'll see if I made a good patch or a bad patch.
So I got a 4-note arpeggiator going right now. But you're only hearing oscillator 1, so I'm gonna bring in other oscillators slowly. Let's see. And what's so dope about this is because it's 4 separate oscillators, I can take those and put those at different octaves. So I got one at 16 feet, the second one at 8, the other one at 4, and the other one at 2. All on.
And those can all get separate CV in, right?
Yep, they can all get separate CV. cycling through all of the oscillators, or I can put them all on the same octave.
That thing sounds beautiful.
It really does, man.
Are you finding it different to work on than the grandmother?
It is different, and especially, you know, since everything is stereo, like this whole path is stereo, it's a little different. The filter and the delay, obviously there's no delay on the grandmother, that's a reverb, but the spring reverb on there is dope. But this being a dual delay and a dual filter, it's kind of weird.
It's got the spring reverb also, right?
No, it doesn't have spring reverb.
Oh,
it just
doesn't?
has the dual stereo delay.
Okay.
Bucket Brigade delay. And so you got this filter, you can put it in series, high pass, low pass, like there. Yeah, it's kind of strange. I got to kind of get used to it. Or you can put it in stereo, low pass, low pass. Put it in parallel. Then you got two resonance, resonance 1 and 2, and that's where things get kind of strange. So I got to get kind of used to dealing with that. And you got space and envelope, keyboard tracking. But the joint sounds real good. I mean, this is without delay. See. See. Where the hell did it go? Let's see. I got a sweep. There. But I like tuning these the oscillators to different octaves. You can sync one of them. It does really like kind of quirky stuff when you put on sync enable, and then say I'm on oscillator 4 and I sync that one, so I hit the button there. And you can see if I turn it off, it kind of drops one off. Yeah, it's got a real quirky behavior when you use the ARP with the oscillators and in 4-voice paraphony mode, periphony, however they say that. A lot of tricky stuff though. What I was doing is I was going through the book today, the patch book. So they give you this patch book, and it gives you all these patch examples. And
did you go through any of them yet, or?
I went through a couple of them, but I only liked one so far. A couple of them sounded a little harsh. But you know what I did like is, let's see if I can do this. Let's see, wave output. There we go. So now I'm FMing oscillator 1 with oscillator 4.
Oh, nice. So you're interpatching the oscillator section.
Yep.
Oh, I'm gonna show a little trick too.
Yep.
I haven't seen anybody show anything like this, so
Go for it.
Grab some cables. I'm gonna show you something. So, let me think how I want to do this. So we'll do pitch and gain out.
You get a couple of mults and attenuators. You get 2 of those sections. The utility section, you get 2 of them on here, whereas on the grandmother you get 1. So it's kind of cool because you get this extra attenuator where you can kind of take the wave out. If you want to FM one of these joints, you could take the wave out, throw that in the input, then output that to linear FM in on the oscillator 1 and dial in as much of it as you want. I don't even know what's going on. So I'm syncing. I'm FMing oscillator 1 with oscillator 4, and then I put on sync enable, and I turned on oscillator 4 to be synced. So it got this little weird kind of glitchy sound now.
Let me check this out. I'm gonna
Go for it.
So what I'm gonna try real quick is something a little weird. Let me actually turn this one down. So this right now is actually, I'm getting an oscillator from the Wave Razor, which is up over here on my desk, and Wave Razor is being sent into the HydraSynth. So you're gonna hear, like, I'll drop the HydraSynth. So this is just Wave Razor and HydraSynth, you know.
Yep.
Right? So I'm not getting any pitch there. So I gotta assign it. Let's do, we'll do, where are we at? Mod Matrix. Go to, I think I have this into the wrong guy. No, that's right. I think I have it wrong over here. Yeah, there it is.
I don't know why it's doing that, but I like it. You hear that? Listen. And it doesn't seem like it's the delay. I could take the delay out. But it's got something to do with me FMing the first oscillator and then syncing. Putting sync on. And it does that weird sort of jitter. Even the LFO is not up. It's very strange, but I like it. And so you got Wave Razor coming into HydraSynth?
Yeah. Hold on.
Rich just subbed to BBoy. Good looking out, Rich. Welcome to the crew. And Heathcliff, you got a good point. It is just one giant. No, who said that? I don't know how to say it. Adikoya? Adams. Yeah, it is one giant sweet spot. My man Heathcliff said, Moogs are great, but their videos are terrible. Yeah, man, it does sound interesting with the FM. It gets really, so many possibilities there.
I don't know what algorithm I have that thing set on because I just turned it on. So Wave Razor can have like a gazillion different combinations is have it set up. So you kind of have to know where you're set up for. But
does it have a software editor or something? Or
well,
no?
no, well, yeah, they're going to be doing that too. But I'm saying like inside the actual module, there's like literally like a few hundred algorithms that you can select between, and they're different combinations of oscillators and modulated in different ways and all that good stuff.
Right.
So like if I change this right now. Like that's all wave razors. Oh, I should probably play higher.
Yeah, wave razor sounds good. And I don't know if people know this, but you're coming into, like you said, wave
So I'm
razors
going
coming
into yeah, I'm going into the ring mod input of the HydraSynth. So it's actually a modulation input that I'm coming in on, but everything on HydraSynth runs at audio rate. So you can actually run, I believe, up to 48K or something like that into the modulation inputs. So you can actually, yeah, like everything on this machine is like ridiculously overspec'd.
And it can be, then you can affect the incoming signal with the effects and the filter, right?
Yeah, it's really funny because hold on, I'm gonna initialize this patch real quick. I'm gonna get out of doing that so that people hear just the raw HydraSynth. But it's really funny because like I was reading some threads and on forums and whatnot, and which is usually really bad whenever you have a product coming out. And it was really funny because like people were saying like, oh, like there's no possible way that this company can be doing this kind of stuff unless they have FPGA. And I'm like, well, all that is like a pre-designed, DSP chip, or not pre-designed DSP chip. It's like if you have a big enough company behind you, you can create your own DSP chips. And people are like, oh, they can't do that. And it's like, but they did.
Because they're a really big company. It's just because you don't know the name. You know what I mean?
So I'll do this real quick. I'm just gonna make because I know is it Adkoya? Because I talk to the dude all the time and I've never heard his name pronounced. Adkoya or Adkoya? Adkoy? I don't know.
It's Adkoy. Adkoy. He spelled it out.
I'm not trying to butcher your name, man. I'm really not. I'm not trying to be disrespectful at all. That's not what I'm trying to do. So let me just, because he was talking about some things that didn't sound glassy and wavetable-y, which is like, well, that's kind of what a wavetable synth is great for. But okay, I'll show you. I'll show you what the opposite use case as well. That's fine. So first thing I'll do is I'm gonna give it just a little bit of analog feel so that it'll drift a little bit as I go across keyboard. Hopefully you guys can hear it. I'm gonna give it some stereo width. So we'll do. Okay. So right now, it's just saw wave oscillators. Alright, so we'll do it like this. And let me check my levels, make sure I'm okay. Alright, now, this is where it's going to get fun. So we'll do...
Okay, give me 10 minutes. I'll be done. I'm being called to dinner. You're getting me in trouble, Flux.
That's what I do.
Such a chump.
Alright, so now, bring this up.
Yeah, that don't sound glassy to me.
Now let's give it just a little bit of this love, alright? you give it that filter drive.
Yeah, that's strong. Oh, is he still not satisfied? He said, try a couple other filter modes.
But yeah, if you don't like that right there, there's something ain't right with you, because that right there is beefy.
It is.
All right, so
colors.
Now we'll go to MS. Now, something really cool about the MS-20 mode, and this is what we were just talking about before off air. So if I just hit it with a lot of resonance, like everybody knows that that rip apart MS-20 sound, right? Now if I do this, pay attention. So here, we'll do it. We'll go ahead and drop this back, because I'm going to make it not do that sound real quick. So that's right at that rip apart, you know, resonance harmonic tearing kind of sound, right? And yes, there is analog feel slop function on it. I have just a tiny bit of that turned on right now. So you'll hear that right now, but it's not real heavy. It's not like a lot of that rip apart sound. And the trick for that is you want to balance your oscillators, and then you want to balance the drive amount, because you want to drive that filter in. So now,
yeah, Digital Diesel, he showed the audio input already.
So yeah, when you do that, you get that.
Oh, that's monsters.
So yeah, you get that resonant like growl out of it, which is really, really nice. And that's something that a lot of digital modules kind of struggle with. So yeah, you know, in talking about the analog feel and slop stuff, I'm gonna speak to that, because Cell Rock brings up a great point about different ways of modulating. Like if you didn't have that parameter, this synth gives you all the options to do that in like extra ways. I was at a synth event not long ago, and I was talking to Korg about the Mini Log XD, and I was asking him, I was like, can you key track per oscillator? And they said no. And the sound design guy was like, why would you even want to do that? And I said, well, if you can key track per oscillator, you can key track off by like 1%, and it makes them drift in separate ways. That'll give you that analog feel in a way. So this does allow you to do that. You can key track over and under by any percent that you want, and you also have the analog feel. Now, to illustrate the analog feel real quick, so I'm just gonna go up the keyboard real quick. I'll have it all the way off, and I'll get rid of the detune as well. All right, so this is straight digital, like, you know, just straight sound, right? When I turn up the analog feel,
yeah, you can hear the drift instantly,
and you can go wild with it. Like it's like broken instrument, you know. And you'll notice that it changes as you go up the keyboard too.
Right, because it's tracking up and down the keyboard, right?
Yeah, like if I go way up here, like. Oh, I got that resonance up. Let me turn it. So you can hear how it'll track differently across there. No, I usually like to have that that was dialed all the way up to 127. I usually like it dialed around like 12 or 13. So you dial it to taste for the patch that you're working on, obviously. But yeah, you can get really ridiculous with it. Then on top of that, of course, you can do like unison detunes, and you know, so it's like. And that's only 4 voices there. I mean, you can really kind of. So you can get really ridiculous with that kind of stuff.
That's dope. So yo, hey, because we took so long to set up, now
You gotta go get dinner.
I gotta go get dinner. It's about time to eat, man.
I had my dinner.
Yeah, not me.
All right, man. Well, look,
is Baby Blue your dinner?
Listen, you don't worry about me. You don't worry what I'm doing.
All right, man. I'm out.
All right,
peace, y'all.
So I'll keep people here for a minute, and
Kick me off.
I'll answer some questions because I know that there's a lot of questions. So I'll talk to you later on. All right, so run that through filter drive. Okay. Yeah. So what you were asking about is yeah. So the drive does kind of change per filter as far as how it sounds. Just to give an example here, I'm going to initialize this again, and so just one saw. This is the ladder 12 dB, which is transistor ladder 12 dB without resonance compensation on it. So we do that, and the bass drops out. Now what we could do is we'll drop it down about half. All right, give it maybe half the resonance, and then filter drive. So you can hear how it affects it pretty heavy, right? But it stays round. Now what I'll do is I'm going to turn the drive up, and then I'll turn it from pre to post filter. And then back down. Yeah, that cricket is driving me insane. I got like a whole nest of them in here somewhere. I'm going to turn my mic off too so you guys can get nothing but straight synth. Going between pre and post. How about I move the I'm gonna move the camera so you can actually see the synth better. Let's do it like this. I'm gonna try and do this in a careful way because I can't be showing everything in here right now, so I gotta be a little bit cagey about how my stuff moves around. Almost see it, huh? What if we went like this? You can almost see it. Maybe I go up a little bit here. What do you think? That's not terrible. I mean, worse things have happened. Here. This is mad precarious. Okay. Dubstep and EDM patches. Well, I'll say this much. Hold on, let me affect this a little bit. Hold on. Just trying to do it like... Just trying to make this lighting a little bit better. Alright, well, whatever. You guys will have to deal with it. Alright. As far as like EDM stuff, like that's not really my forte, but there are quite a few of those in here, and they're not exactly that's not exactly a hard style of patch to make. So as far as yeah, so just to real quick show you some of that, a little bit more of that drive. That's on the Q compensated filter. And that O scope that you're seeing there is actually the outputs of the synth. So like even if you go to like say post effects, right? And let's say I throw an EQ on here and I do a low boost, you'll see it change right away. Like high gain, drop that. So yeah, you can get those pretty easily. Um, and what is Rich's question here? Can we have some? Here's some triangle waveforms with filter and delay, the mid to high register. Yeah, I kind of did something like that a little bit earlier, but I'll show you that. So again, this is all like really basic stuff here. So I'll obviously for that kind of patch, I'll just do like a basic arpeggiation. All right, all right, and we'll do. Do it like this. And we'll do. A little bit of reverb too. And Rich, yes, I do believe it is possible for nose hair to get dandruff. It's called boogies. What up, checkmate? So now we got that going. We can kind of play with that. So I'm going to change the waveform a little bit because you want to hear sweet spots. I'll show you a little bit more potential of that basicness right there, because that right there obviously sounds really nice. That's with the filter all the way open. Let's do a 12 dB. All right, we'll give it some of this. And we'll do just a little bit of envelope on it. We can let it just pluck it. Drop this down here a little bit. Taking back the reverb. Now, I'm going to have some fun with it, all right? So I'll just show you what I like to do on it, and then you can complain about it later. So I'm mapping an LFO to the wave scan on this. And I've got some pretty smooth waveforms on there. I'm going to make that a unipolar. Triangle, kind of slow. And then oscillator 2, I'm going to do kind of the opposite. Something with like, actually we'll go way up here. This is like kind of ridiculous, but it's cool. So watch this. And if it starts to clip out on the feed, let me know. Because I'm kind of focused on the sound design and not the audio feed here. Alright, so. Alright, so we'll do this. And then we can FM that. Just a touch of FM on this. And now I'm going to modulate that. And you could do like weird modulations. Like if I was to do the ratio. That's 4. Oh, it'll definitely be out in November, dude. Definitely. Manual is pretty much done. It's just a matter of like finalizing a few minor things. Manual will be out very soon. Okay, so now we'll do that. We'll also have this modulate the decay of that. And let's have some fun here with this one. And we can modulate. I'm actually going to modulate the arpeggiation now. And yes, the ring modulator has choice of 2 inputs, and they can be assigned to all kinds of different things, including the modulation inputs. So what we'll do, matter of fact, let's go ahead and bring up some of the ring mod, and I'll show you some ways that you can mess with that. So there's the ring mod. Now I'm going to change that to the 3rd oscillator, which is drop down. And the 2nd oscillator. And we can actually select the mutant. So source 2 is going to be mutant 3. And we'll do mutant 1 for source 1. And mutant 1. Here. Dropping the ratio below. We'll take this to a sine, and then I can play with that ratio. And no, I can't really tighten the focus because it's a live stream and it's just a crappy webcam. I am in the process of looking to get a new, probably gonna get like a GH4. And hopefully that will work with web streaming better because my GH3 just can't do it. So unfortunately, that's the situation we're living with. Maybe if I bring it real close. It's really kind of hard to find a sweet spot with this camera. It just sucks. Let me try something. Give me 1 second. Let me try this. Let's see. So we can. It is not great. Let's try. We'll bring the exposure down a little bit. That's not bad. That works. It'll give you a headache, but you can at least see it. Okay. So now what we'll do is a little bit of this. Let's do this. We'll do some wave stack. And let's spread it. Bring mod back down. We'll go to mutant 4. We'll do a harmonic sweep. So now you can get, we'll sweep that off at LFO 2. So yeah, you can get some really just kind of weird, strangey sounds like that. And no, you can't morph between presets yet. That's not something that they're doing right now. It is something that has been put in as a feature request, so who knows. Let's initialize that patch. So again, that's what it sounds like, you know, if that's where we took that from. So, you know, I mean, you're really free to kind of do whatever you want. Really fun stuff to do is if you don't use Wavescan and you just like, watch this. So right there, what I'm doing is I'm scanning through every single waveform in the oscillator section, all starting at, actually there I'm starting at the saw. We'll start at the sine. And that's like a hard change as opposed to that smooth blending sound that you can do. So if you want to do harder sounds, you can. And then if you slow it way down, and of course it's a sine wave, so it's slowing down as it gets to the top. But the mutator sending pure triangle sine to ring mod. You can send dedicated triangle sines to the ring mod, and also like there's multiple ways of doing that. So of course we can have this be free running, and then I can change this to. This is really interesting right here. So one of the LFO sections that you can do is the step, and it's basically an 8-step sequencer inside here. You can make it as many steps as you want, up to 8. So when you go to the second page, you select the steps number, right? And you can go down, you can go up. Let's do 4 steps, right? And you can decide whether it's smooth or not. And then you can edit those steps, right? So now I'm going to select waveforms via the step. And then this one here. Go up. That should. Oh, I'd have to step it forward, but that's all right. Let's just select 4 random steps. All right. Okay, so now we'll hit exit. And then what LFO was I on again? Was I on 3? Yeah. Oh, one of them is going to a noise waveform, sounds like. So let's edit that. And if you want, you can have that be poly. So that's really harsh. Let's put some filtering on that. So you can do all kinds of weird stepping and all that kind of strangeness. If you have 2 agendas, what's the max time you have to morph between those two? Like a triangle. So you can do that a lot of different ways. You can, and as far, oh my God, I'm getting sidetracked. So, all right, first let me answer about how long do you have, for morphing between sounds. You can go down to 0.02 hertz, right? So if you do that, I'll just show you what that's like. Initialize this patch real quick. I'm going to go wave scan, and what I'm going to do is in my wave scan, I'm only going to put 2 waveforms. Okay, I got a saw, and we'll do this pulse wave. All right, so I'll hit exit. All right, something isn't right. What did I change? I changed something here. I changed something in my audio setup. What did I change? I changed something. I don't know what it was. But anyway, we'll go back to this. It's my mixer. Oh well. Alright. So, where were we? Oscillator 1. Go to wave scan. So we'll do a triangle. And that pulse. that way they're pretty noticeable. So when you only have 2 in there, the Wavescan direct knob is going to be kind of short, right? Short throw. But there's other ways of getting around that. So if I want, I can go to macro assign, right? And I'm going to take my macro and I'll have that be oscillator 1. And that's going to be my Wavescan. And I'll turn that to depth is going to be 128. Now when I turn it here, it gives me a longer throw. I've got something going on here. I've got some kind of there's some kind of modulator or something going on there. I don't know what it is. Anyway. Yeah. I don't know what the hell I turned on. It's weird. Or I have it feeding back. I don't know. Anyway, so you can do it via macro, or you can do it through modulation. And if you do it through modulation, it's going to be 0.2 hertz, which is like a good long while. What's really nice is when you stagger your waveforms, then you can kind of get away with doing a little bit more with that. And hold on, let me see if I can't. Let's see if I can't show you that real quick. Hold on. If I can move this thing. If I can move it like this, I might actually be able to see it right on there. I'm going to try to get it so that you guys can see this. I really should only need those up a little bit. Okay, that should be good. So, alright, let's go. Oscillator 1. So if we wave scan, you could do, say, a sol, and then on your second one, you can also use it as a VCA in a way too by having a silent stage in there. So we'll do a sine, and then I'll do another sol, a sine, and then I'll do a triangle, and then I'll do a sol, and then I'll do a sine, and then I'm going to do a square. So when you're doing this kind of thing, you get like all these multiple variations of the same basic group of waveforms. So when you modulate, you get like these kind of like ever so subtle changes and whatnot, which can be really nice, you know? Especially in polys. And yeah, so usually what I do, and let me actually do it like this. Alright, so I'm just going to a blank preset. So what I usually do is, when I'm saving my presets, and I'll back this back out again. When I'm saving my presets, I like to save with the color denoting how much work I've done, which I know might sound strange, but when you're sound designing like a whole bunch of presets, it's kind of good to know. So what I'll do is I'll say, like, the closer my color gets to green is the closer I know I am to having a finished preset. And when we get to color 13, it doesn't look so great in this video, but it's actually neon green. It's like it's a flux with it green. So yeah, that's what I do there. As far as the mutant stuff, and you know, I did a pretty in-depth video on that, but it was very non-musical, you know. There's a lot of really musical things that you can do with the mutants, and also the vast majority of what I showed, it was all on a saw wave, right? When you start messing with the mutants on non-standard waveforms, things get really cool. So for instance, this waveform right here, when you FM it, it gets so complex, and then you drop the ratio. Which is like, okay, that's whatever, but don't just do it like that. Do it how you would, if you were messing with your modular, right? So we'll set something up like that, like as if this was like a modular. We would set it up like probably about here. Set this up nice and long. Set this up about here. Drop that down there. Pump this up. Drop that back. Pump that up. And then you go. So then you add a wave stack to that, and it gets really crazy. And when you play those things really low like that, you can kind of get like PPG breakup, which is really cool. And rectifying the waves. Certain things you can do to do that. Certain things in here also have a window, which will the window will kind of. It almost sounds like a high pass filter, but it kind of smooths things in. So you can. Now, if I drop that window out, it gets much harsher. But if I bring it in, it's a little bit smoother and handles things a little bit nicer. What's up, Star? So, show you another little quick thing. If you are, so I was doing. Oh man, I'll show you this patch that I was messing with. That was really kind of fun. So the concept was to do an FM patch, but do the FM in multiple ways. So I'm actually using harmonics in some really kind of strange ways. So like there's two versions of it. This is the FM fun. So what this one lets me do is I can actually go through harmonics via the wave scan, right? So let me back out of here and then come back to it just so you can see the oscillator itself. So now if I do the wave scan, right? And that's really just that, it's a custom made wavetable of multiple harmonics in succession, right? So I'm blending between those harmonics. But then on macros, what I did was I used the mutants to set up different FM setups, right? So with that, that's where you see the FM depth here, FM. This is for oscillator 1, and then this is for oscillator 2. And I can FM off of different areas, so I can bring that up. That's full FM there, and then the depth is going to change it drastically. And if I bring that down, you'll also notice that on the poly aftertouch, I have the second stage of FM, which I can also do here. And I have it controlling it in a completely different way. And that's all, like, you're getting all that different sound change from one patch right there, right? That's all one patch, and the macros stay there, and you can easily get back to whatever you want. Another cool thing about those macros is if you want, you can save the buttons to be specific values, so they will jump to whatever you want them to. So, like, I could just turn all these on, and I'm back to that original. Now, here's the negative zone version of this whole situation, right? I can change it. No, this is the FM anger patch. That was the FM fun. This is the FM anger. So that one is considerably more aggressive, right? And the point of that is I was having people ask about essentially they were saying, oh, well, it's not going to be able to do distortion like, you know, like a Prophet 12 or, you know, like some of these things with analog distortions in them. And I was like, well, you're right. It does distortion in many, many other ways. So with this, I can actually bring up oscillator feedback. I can bring up FM, which is acting as a distortion. I can bring up wave folding, which is acting as a distortion, which the wave folding is happening with FM also. Like the whole theme of it is FM for these two patches. And you can overdrive the filters and all that. And right now, just to show you, this patch, if you look right here, I haven't even touched. This is the initialized filter section. That none of this patch is using the filters at all. So you're getting all this without ever even touching the filters. So, and then of course, if I want to introduce a filter, like I'll say, like this guy. I think I'm clipping my audio interface there. So you can really just kind of go nuts with that kind of stuff. So there's a whole range of emotions that you can pull out of the synthesizer, from really happy to really angry. When I was working on the patches, I was trying to be fairly balanced in what I provided because, you know, it's a new synth and there's a lot of sounds that you need. So I was doing things like this, for instance. So this is called Play with Jen, and I named it after my wife, and it's just, I'll speed it up a little bit. Just a very, like, light-hearted kind of patch. And you can play with the gate. It's kind of hard for you guys to see what I'm doing, but... And you've got these ratcheting and chants happening, because she's fairly unpredictable. And might get ratchet from time to time. No, I'm kidding. So then, you know, I would go from that to something like the Nega Flux. And let me see if I can find it. There's one that's really great. It's pretty silly. This one's actually really cool. So this one, I think this is not the corrected version of it, but let me correct that real quick. It's in here somewhere. Which one was it? This guy. Macro maybe bounce. There we go. There it is. So this one has some really cool well, you'll hear it, some really cool bouncing stuff going on. And you'll notice that the bounce goes from the left to the right. And that is just kind of an example of how you can modulate the envelopes in interesting ways on this thing. I mean, you can do some... Play with the FM. So some cool sounds. I was hoping that it wouldn't be mono. It was stereo when we tested it out earlier. But yeah, so some strange, interesting patches. This one's pretty cool. Asking about some CS80 stuff. Now, I am not a fantastic player, but I will show you some cool stuff that a good friend... So Paul Schilling, who is also in the HydraSynth group on Facebook, created some really classic CS80 style patches. And he has a Decker's Dream as well. I'm not going to even try to pretend to play anything from that, but I am a huge fan of the movie. There's actually one that I really like. Let me find it. Hold on. Here we are. that poly aftertouch. I'm going to turn the mic off. Well, it's also coming through on a YouTube stream, so as far as I wouldn't get too worried about technical details of EQing and compression to fatten anything up when you're doing a live stream audio feed. It's generally speaking not going to be the greatest. But yeah, it's pretty nice, and yeah, you can completely set up voice note priority as far as last note, high note, low note, all that good stuff. That can all be set up. You can do. I'll show you something goofy that you can do with the ribbon. So right now, of course, you have that pitch stuff going on, but you can also do this. So if you notice, I'm playing it separately from the keys that I'm playing. So you can do that. You can also quantize it. Okay, you can change the glide amount. Just to make it really smooth. So if you're all jittery like me, you know, it'll fix that stuff. You can do... Now when you do this, check this out. So the theremin mode, you know how like a theremin, you use two hands to handle the theremin. And I'm noticing that I didn't zoom out here, so let's do that. Where's it at? Here we are. Okay, so I'm a little bit upside down, but you're okay with that. So on here, I can use, you can see my hand over here. This will be the volume. So you can get like theremin control aspects out of the ribbon, which is really cool. And as far as MPE, it's being discussed. It is a feature request, and it is being discussed. That's about as far as I can say about that. And then you can also have modulation only mode and all that good stuff. Yeah. So that's a really great patch by Paul. So you know. Yeah, so some really nice stuff in there. Definitely worth checking out. Yeah. As far as custom waveform import, no. It is, so there's 219 waveforms, and then you can combine them in any order you want and create custom wavetables that way. So you're rearranging single cycle waveforms to create any sort of wavetable you want, which you can then freely scan between in any order, which is really nice. Anyway, I'm going to hop off of here because it's almost midnight. And yeah, I got stuff I got to do in the morning, but thanks for helping us test out the audio and checking out the feed. So everybody have a great night and try not to get into too much trouble. I don't know how to end the feed either. So where's that at? Here we are. All right. Have a great night. Peace.